Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another maths lesson. This is lesson 2 for week 8. This week, your number studies are all division. So have a look, see if you can work out using your written method of division. What is 3,984 divided by 5? Our learning intention today is the same as yesterday, and we are looking at simplifying fractions. Your success criteria is I can find the highest common factor of two numbers. I can identify equivalent fraction families. I can multiply and divide to find equivalent fractions. See if, when you've simplified today, if you're having particular with one, if you're having trouble with a particular thing, or to try and identify and how, let your teacher know what activity you might need a little bit more work on. Thinking back to yesterday, what does highest common factor mean? Remember that the highest common factor is the largest factor that two numbers have in common. So when we're trying to find the highest common factor, what we need to do is write out all the factors of the number and then choose the one that is shared, so they both have, that is the largest. That's the highest common factor. So you can see here the factors of 24 and the factors of 36, that 12 is the largest factor that they share. Remembering our fraction language, the numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom number, the bar is also called the vinculum or the fraction bar. Remembering as well what a mixed number and an improper fraction is. Remembering that improper fractions have a larger numerator than denominator, and mixed numbers have a whole number part and a fraction part. Remember also your equivalent fraction families, looking at these fraction families that are the same as each other. They represent the same amount. So all of those fractions under halves represent 1/2. All of the fractions under thirds represent 1/3. All of the fractions under a quarter represent 1/4, and all of the fractions under fifths represent 1/5, just written in different ways. Yesterday we looked at the mathematical process for simplifying fractions. We might need to know how to do this when simplifying more complex fractions that are not ones from the equivalent fraction families we know. Remember that when we are simplifying fractions, we want the numerator to be 1 or as close to 1 as possible. Remember the process for today of simplifying a fraction is list all the factors of the numerator, list all the factors of the denominator, find the highest common factor for the numerator and the denominator, and then divide the numerator by the highest common factor, and then divide the denominator by the highest common factor, that should say. Then then you need to repeat it to see if it can be simplified any further. All right, so let's have a look at a couple of examples now. We're going to have a look at these ones, and I'm going to take you through them, and then trust me when I say that the best way to practice these is for you to pause me and have a go at it yourself, and then watch how I do it. First of all, I'm going to look at the factors of 15. So what I'm going to start with is 1 and 15. And I could write them in order as well. That would probably be really helpful in trying to figure out which one's the highest. 15, 2 is not a factor. 3 is a factor. 15 is in the 3 times tables. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 and 5 we've already got, so it was only 4 factors. 1, 3, 5, and 15. Then the factors of 33 are 1 and 33. It's not divisible by 2. It is divisible by 3. 3 and 11 are the 2 factors of 33, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, no, it's not divisible by anything else. It's not in any other times tables that I know. So then I'm going to pick the highest common factor. There's only 2 common factors, 1 and 3. 1's not going to help me, so 3 is the highest common factor. Then I'm going to work out what 15 divided by 3 is, and I'm going to work out what 33 divided by 3 is, and that's going to give me my simplified fraction. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 33 divided by 3 is 11. So the simplified version of that fraction is 5/11, or 5/11. Next, I'm going to look at 12 fifteenths. 12's factors are 1 and 12. 2 and 6 times together make 12, and same with 3 and 4. 15's factors are 1 and 15, 3, and I should look at the top there, I've already done them, 3 and 5. The highest common factor that they share is actually 3 again, so I'm going to divide 12 by 3, and then I'm going to divide 15 by 3 as well. That's 4 over 5, 4/5. Next, I'm going to look at 9 over 36. 9's factors are 1, 9, and 3. 36's factors, I think 36 has a lot. 1, 36, 2, 18, 2 times 18 is 36, 3 times 12, so 3 and 12 are factors, 4 and 9, 5 notes, and 6 times 6, so 6 is also a factor. So the highest common factor that they share is 9. Okay, so I'm going to do 9 divided by 9, and I'm going to do 36 divided by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 36 divided by 9 is 4. So 9 over 36 is simplified down into 1/4. 14 over 20, 14 has factors of 1, 14, 2, and 7. 20 has factors of 1, 20, 2, and 10, 3, 4, and 5, and 5, yeah, we've done that one. The highest common factor that they share is only 2. So I'm going to half both 14 and 20 by dividing them by 2. 14 over 20 divided by 2. The answer is 7 over 10, 7/10. And finally, 115 over 230. Oh my gosh, I don't know the factors of those. If it's a large number and you don't know the factors, probably what I would do is maybe just have a look at the numbers and see if you can think what the factors might be. 115 ends in a 5 and 230 ends in a 0. We know that numbers that end in 5 and 0 are in the 10 times tables they're going to have factors of 5 or 10. So I'm going to hazard a guess at saying that 5 is a factor of 230 and 115. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first without even thinking about the factors. Well, I did sort of think about the factors. 115 divided by 5. 23. And then 230 divided by 5. It's 4, it's 3 remainder 6, 46. Okay, 23 over 46. And now I can see that just by looking at these numbers, I know that 23 is actually half of 46. So we can divide by 23. Well, we can just half it, and we can figure out that 115 over 230 is the same as a half and can be simplified down to a half. I probably should have checked that first, actually. Let's have a look at these ones together. These ones are slightly easier, so if you wanted to do them after, alongside me, or if you want to pause me and then have a go at 1 or 2 on your own first, that is completely fine. I'm going to start with 4. The factors of 4 are 1, 4, and 2. The factors of 16 are 1, 16, and 4, and 2, and 8. The highest common factor that they share is 4. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 4, which is 1, and 16 divided by 4, which is 4. That represents a quarter. Next, I'm going to do the factors of 6, which are 1, 2, 3, 6. The factors of 15, which are 1, 15, 3, and 5. The highest common factor they share is 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. That simplifies down to 2/5. 9's factors are 1, 9, and 3. 12's factors are 1, 12, 3, 4, 2, and 6. The highest common factor they share is 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. 14's factors are 1, 14, 2, and 7. 21's factors are 1, 21, 3, and 7. The highest common factor they share is 7. So dividing both of those by 7 gives me the fraction 2/3. 18's factors are 1, 18, 2, 9, 3, and 6. 34's factors are 1, 34, 2, and 17. And that's it. The highest common factor they share is 2. So halving both of those, 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 34 divided by 2 is 17. And because I've got a prime number on the bottom here, I know I can't simplify any further. 36's factors are 1, 36, 2, and 18, 3, and 12, 4, and 9. 45's factors are 1, 45, 2, no, 3, and 15, 4, no, 5, and 9. So the highest common factor they share is 9. So 36 divided by 9 is 4, and 45 divided by 9 is 5/4. Next, let's have a look at converting some measurements. I know that if I'm converting from meters to kilometers, I know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So initially, what I'm saying is that 700 meters represents 700 out of 1,000 meters needed to make 1 kilometer. So it's the same as saying 7 over 100. I can also simplify that down by dividing it by 100. If I make both of those 100 times smaller, I can represent it as 7 over 10. And we can kind of better understand that 700 meters represents 7/10 of a kilometer. Similarly, I know that 100 centimeters makes up 1 meter. So I can have a look and think about 50 centimeters being 50 centimeters of a possible 100 centimeters in 1 meter. You might be able to start to see an equivalent fraction family stuff here. I can simplify it down by dividing each of those by 10. And then looking at 5/10 and saying, well, that's half a meter. Lastly, 200 milliliters. There are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So I can think about 200 over 1,000 representing 200 milliliters out of a possible 1,000. Then, like I did in the first example, dividing both of those by 100 to make an equivalent fraction of 2 over 10. So 200 milliliters is equivalent to 2/10 of a liter. Lastly, let's have a look